Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show's about to begin. Peter, let's put on a show.
I'm ready.
Welcome back to another episode of Golden Nuggets with Silvia Eldawi. Today, we've gone global again. We have got the number one icon of London real estate with us today, Peter Rollings. Did I say that right?
You said that right. Well done, you.
I was going around telling everyone it's Rollings like Rolling Stones, and then you were like, no, it's not. It's Rollings.
Fair enough. Most people get it wrong. Don't worry.
Yeah. So we are joined by Peter today. He has come to Dubai for a very special event, and I had to grab him to come on the show because you have. I mean, I thought I'd been in the industry for a long time, 22 years.
Yeah.
You double that.
Oh, come on.
You've been in the industry since 1982, before most of you were even born.
I know, isn't it depressing?
And you have got, speaking of impressive, a very, very impressive track record.
Thank you.
Peter is an empire builder. You guys, he has built not one, but two huge, iconic real estate brands in not just London, we're talking prime central London. So if there is anyone who's going to tell us how to build a brand, how to make money as a real estate agent, how to build your personal brand, because that's something that's new. It was all about the agency brands. It's you. And we want to learn from you, get some golden nuggets for the ambitious and aspiring real estate agents out there. So can you just add some more flavor to your background since 1982?
Well, that was a wonderful introduction. Thanks, Silvia, very much. Yeah, I have been around since 1982. I didn't go to university, as I think many people successful in real estate don't.
Yeah, that is a recurring
I wanted
theme.
to get on with it and make some money and get out there and make waves. And so I did. But I did it, I spent 3 years before Foxtons working for an incredibly posh business called Lane Fox.
Yeah.
In London, but I was the only person there, and there were 6 of us who hadn't been to Eton.
Right.
So it was frighteningly posh.
How did you get in?
I answered an advert.
Okay.
Well, my first job in London was selling fish,
Yeah.
because it came with a flat and a moped.
Couldn't say
so
no to
I took
that.
it. And walking through the fish market one day was this old boy, and he said, "Peter," I got chatting to him over the months, "you should apply for this." And so I did and got it.
Amazing.
And then I, 3 years there, literally as an office boy, collecting maps, making coffee, learning my craft, if you like, and from some amazing people. And then my best mate played squash with John Hunt, who at the time had started this business called Foxtons, which was very small, but hyper aggressive. He was the first disruptor of the real estate market, certainly in London, definitely in England. And I went there, and I went from working 9 till 5 days a week, very comfortable, very nice, tooling along, no commission, 4,250 a year, no commission. 4,250 quid, which was £252 a month.
Yeah. But that probably got you quite far in London in those days.
Well, I'm not so sure, but anyway, no, it didn't. And then I went to Foxtons, which was 9 till 9, 7 days a week, and was an absolute brutal environment. Brilliant fun, an amazing company that really was out there to change the market.
Definitely the first disruptor.
It really was, and most agents there were closing at 5 and not opening on Saturdays because it was something like hard work. And so we really, really, really pushed it. And we were we were quite brutal and quite tough.
You were hated.
We were hated,
Yeah.
which it doesn't worry me to be hated by the competition.
Yeah.
We certainly weren't hated by our clients because we really quickly became the biggest agent in London. And actually, I sit on the board there now, and we are still the biggest agent in London.
Yeah.
So we must be doing something right. And we did a lot of things very, very differently to the traditional estate agent. One was work really hard. That was our USP.
Yeah.
We worked harder than the rest.
We were like machines.
We were.
Yeah.
We really, really were. Interestingly, I started in the Fulham office, and I had an ulcer in 3 months.
Makes
It
sense.
was absolutely the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
Well, I can tell you, it was the most stressful thing going to a listing instruction and knowing that Foxtons are coming in after or before you. I was like, I might as well just give up now.
Almost certainly after, because frankly, we always wanted to be last in so we could close the instruction.
Right. Okay. Oh, so there's
It's
your
part of
first
it.
golden nugget there.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, there are a few classic things in this industry that you should be doing, and that's one of them, I think, in my view. And so I grew within the business, and then I ran the South Kensington branch, which was very prime central London, for 7 or 8 years. And then in '97, I took over as MD when we had 10 offices. We grew it very quickly. It was a lesson there. John stepped out of the main part of the business, John Hunt, and went to be just to work on the business rather than in the business. So I was the guy literally running all the day-to-day, employing people, hiring and firing, and there was a lot of firing because we were a very big business.
Yeah. You were known as Pistol Pete.
I was known as Pistol Pete. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Bloody hell.
I've done my research.
Yeah, you have.
No, but I know you. You were known.
I've never had a problem with firing people. I don't enjoy it at all, but I sincerely believe that I'm doing them a favour.
Right.
Because you don't fire people that are any good,
Yeah.
fairly obviously.
True.
And you do fire people, I fired them quite quickly, who were obviously not cut out for the role.
And you tell them, like, don't go to another agency, just
I do.
exit the industry. Yeah.
I do. Because if you can't survive at Foxtons, because there's so much stock and so many people wanting to buy and let, you're gonna struggle, in my view, and these are all my views, being successful. You might get on and you might be okay, but it depends if you want to be successful. And again, very few people really want to be successful, in my view. So,
or they just don't want to put the hard work in.
That's it, and that goes hand in hand with being successful. You cannot be as a really effective, successful estate agent without working bloody hard.
Yeah, and you did make your guys work bloody hard.
I
9
did.
till 9.
Yeah.
Every weekend.
Yeah.
Saturday.
It was Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
So we went soft on Saturday or Sunday. But I think I think it does sort the wheat from the chaff really quickly.
Yeah.
And my view of a good agent is one that hires people because you think they're good, and obviously you don't hire them if you don't. So, but you hire them if you think they're good, and then get rid when it's patently obvious that they're not.
Quickly.
One of my favourite expressions is "don't move a problem." So if they're not doing well here, 9 times out of 10, not 10, 9 times out of 10, they won't be any good, and you need to exit from the business.
I did that a lot in my area manager director days. They're not quite working well in the Shepherd's Bush branch. Let's try them out in Ealing Broadway. I should have just.
It ain't going to work.
Go. Yeah.
It just isn't. They haven't got the right attitude. They haven't got the right skill set. And you know, this job is not a difficult job, but it is difficult to do well.
Yeah.
And very few people can do it really well.
Yeah.
So then I in 2004 I bought a
Keep
company.
Up. We're only in 2004.
Sorry, I'll rattle on. In 2004, I went to Northern Australia to talk about Foxtons at a conference. And I met in the audience a guy called Mark Fitzgerald, who ran Sherry Fitzgerald in Ireland, biggest agent in Ireland. And he said to me, "Pete, why aren't you doing this for yourself?" And anyway, blah blah blah. We bought Marsh Parsons about 7 or 8 months later,
which was another kind of like well-known legacy heritage brand.
It really was
like
established in 1856,
but dull.
But yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a heritage brand, dramatically underperforming. For those of you who know London, it had 6 of its 7 offices were in the Royal Borough of Kensington, Chelsea. So it was perfect as a canvas to work on.
And I'm glad you put respect on the borough by calling it the Royal Borough of Kensington,
it is the Royal
and
Borough of
Chelsea.
Kensington,
Shall I
Chelsea.
tell you why? Because you're on Daniel Dagger's show, Selling London, and they keep popping up the signs.
Yeah.
It said one of them was like Kensington and Chelsea, and I was like,
ridiculous.
how dare you? The Royal Borough, if you please.
in my book, it's the place to be. I love it. I mean, I could probably be a taxi driver in London. I know it so well. But K&C, which is how we refer it, is just glorious in every way. The architecture, I think the people, the restaurants, the places to be, the green spaces, everything about it is fab. Yeah. And I had 7 offices there, or 6 out of the 7. The other one was in Brook Green, which you know well. And I set about rebuilding it totally. I got rid of 95% of the people within the first 3 months, and
Wow.
replaced them with people that actually wanted to be there and work hard. I had very aggressive commission structures that they could really shoot the lights out if they worked hard and were successful, and if they weren't, then they wouldn't. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you pay successful people for being successful, they will be successful if they're capable of it, and if they're not, you move them on.
Okay, and then you exited Marsh and Parsons.
Yeah, so we built it very quickly, really quickly, and changed the brand and changed the structure. And I took all the good things from Foxtons and left all the bits that I felt weren't good. I thought it had got too aggressive, and really it had sort of grown from a rather nice sort of teenager into a rather ungainly and aggressive adult.
But what I love about Marsh and Parsons, or what you did or brought in, and I don't know if it was you, or of course you had to sign off on it, but you went in, like, let's say anybody is going to rebrand an agency business. You've got your typical colours, the blues, the greens, and you had green at Foxtons, but you went for brown and pink.
Chocolate brown and red.
Worked.
It really worked, yeah. And it stood out from the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, the whole purpose of this business, in my view, is to find something to attach to stand you as an individual, or you as a business, away from the competition. It's an incredibly busy and noisy market with so much competition everywhere you look. So if you're just one of many, then you might do all right. If you find something, and it could be a service offering, it could be a way of doing business, it could be working harder, it could be socializing massively, all sorts of things. But you have to stand out, or you'll just be one of many. Yeah. And we did that.
Yeah. And I loved the kind of rebrand launch. Your visuals, where it was just like a person. It was really nice storytelling. I don't know. You're going to have to Google it. Marsh and Parsons. What can they Google? What year was that?
Well, it was.
Marsh and Parsons marketing campaign.
The whole purpose of that marketing campaign was it can carry on forever. It was aimed at people, and it's a people. It's an often used expression. This is a people business, and it really is. So we told stories about people, and it made people smile, it made people laugh, it made people go, isn't that great? Yeah, so it made people think, and so I was very proud of that. We spent a long time doing that. Anyway, we went through the recession, which was the most painful part of my life.
So we're up to 2008 now, guys.
August 2007. And interestingly, John Hunt sold in August 2007.
Wow.
My God, he got his timing right.
Coincidence, or did he know
He's
something?
a very clever man.
Yeah.
He is a genuine genius in my view. And I mean, was it luck? Probably. As success is a mixture of hard work and luck, and certainly he had his share of both.
Yeah. And how much was it sold for?
370 something million quid.
Pounds.
So pounds. So yeah, and he rode off into the sunset, which was great.
What else would you do?
And good luck to him. But, I mean, I was there for 20 years. But
you get less for murder. You get less for double homicide.
Yeah, you would. But no one got any equity. John had it all. But frankly, I learnt my craft there, and I learned from him. And you learn from the best and go off and do it somewhere else. So I'm genuinely not bitter or twisted about it. I did what I did, and frankly, he never told me I would get equity. So. Good luck to him. Yeah. So then we went through the recession, and we put M&P on the market in 2011. My business partners in Ireland wanted to sell. They had corporate debt, and Ireland was going through a terrible time. Anyway, so we did.
Now go back to the recession.
Oh, jeez.
I know it might be a bit traumatic for you.
Well, I think that.
But how did you? Because look, maybe. A lot of people watching this may have only been a real estate agent in the good times or in a good market. And it's possible to be successful in every kind of market, but you just have to be able to shift quickly. What happened?
Well, I mean, one of my favourite expressions, which I used at the time, was even turkeys can fly in a hurricane. And
turkeys can fly in a hurricane.
That's what the market was. Any bloody idiot could sell a house or let a house. It was just falling off a log. Yeah. And you get lazy.
What's that saying? Like, even a broken clock is right 2 times a day or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you get lazy. And after probably 15 years of non-recession, maybe more, there was very few people in the market that had ever worked through a recession, and I had.
Yeah.
And it is a skill, if you like, or not a skill. it's a skill you've learned from 15, 17 years before, and you know what to do.
Yeah.
Cut costs, but not too much. Cut fat, but not bone. So yeah, I had to cut, and I had to lay people off. I think the biggest, most terrifying bit about that whole time was we had a Friday meeting, and it started at Foxtons. We met on a Friday evening at 7 p.m., very unsociable time. The entire company got together and shouted out their figures, what they'd have achieved, and they were written at the time, written on a board. So how many deals they'd done, how many deals they'd agreed, so under offers, and how much money they'd banked.
Right.
And so this was every week, and I did it for years and years and years. At M&P, Marsh Parsons, it was every month, last Friday every month, and we met in a hotel in South Ken. And my run rate, my cost for opening the office was just over £1 million. And at the end of the session, it was £254,000.
Whoops.
So I basically lost £750,000 and but it comes from the boss, and I didn't sort of run off the stage crying. I said, okay, lads, not the best month we've ever had, but better luck next month. Let's go to the bar. And so you have to feed it. Another point of interest for anybody who runs a business sort of knows this. In their heart of hearts, they know this. You are the energy supplier. Right. You have to be that person at all costs that feeds energy into those around you. And that's always been my big thing. I'm a big energy guy. I'm rarely down, and I'm always a bit sort of not manic. I could be manic, but I'm insistent that people are
a certain way.
Yeah.
All
One of my favourite things is get rid of energy suckers. If you've got people in your organisation, you can tell are just
poisonous,
miserable people.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to get them out.
Where do you get your energy from? Coffee?
No. I think it's just I've
6
always been high energy. I have. I'm a positive person. I'm lucky, I suppose. But I know what's right, and I have literally sat in my car. Can I say this?
We'll cut it if
sort of crying at how awful things were.
That month, the 250 month.
That went on for a few months.
Okay.
And then got out of my car, got into an office, because I was in offices a lot. I didn't just sit in my ivory tower. I was round the offices, checking things were going, saying, so, how's it going, guys? It's a bit tough at the moment, I know, but, you got to buckle in. We can do this, make the calls, and we get the stock, and, So, you have to feed that energy in. There's nothing like the boss coming to an office. It feeds, you can feel the energy enter the room. Just because he or she is the boss, that's it. But you've got to do it.
It could also terrify people. I always used to be terrified when a director would walk in. I'm like, it's kind of like having a visitor come in, like, oh, is the place nice and tidy? What are they going to spot?
Well, as you can imagine, Pistol Pete coming to the office
That'd be terrifying. Maybe I'll today will be my last day. And can we just mention, actually, I did apply to work for Foxtons back in 2002.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with Rick Wayne, because he's ex-Foxtons too. And but they just called me at the wrong time. I had a lie-in. They called me. I was asleep. They were obviously like, this girl's sleeping at 9:30 a.m. She can't be so. And to be fair, I probably wouldn't have made it at Foxtons.
Well, 2001 was brutal. We were still. I mean, Foxtons is still a tough place. Yeah. You have to be, because there's lots of stock, and you have to be on it. But it's not as tough now. I think we close 3 nights a week at 6 o'clock in the evening. It's halfway through the afternoon, for God's sake. No, we do. And as a result, we have a much, much better quality of staff, and we hang on to people for longer. Because, if you're 9 till 9, I mean, we got through a lot of people.
It must have been a lot of burnout. Yeah.
It was incredible. Burnout was immense, because it was a market where there was lots going on, and so it was.
And you were
not
known
healthy.
for the Foxtons Mini. Everyone had a Mini, or if you were any good, you'd get upgraded to a BMW.
And then a Porsche.
You were very strict on appearance as well, and people looking sharp and crisp.
Yeah.
So, do you think that still applies now, or is it a bit more casual? What's your opinion?
Well, I hesitate to mention this, but I'm going to, and I certainly wouldn't get away with it these days, but I banned beards. I think principally because I couldn't grow one, and I would look ridiculous if I tried to grow, but I'd look ridiculous for weeks on end. But I just didn't think at the time, and this was, a few years ago now. I didn't think at the time it was appropriate, and this might sound like a stupid, ridiculous thing to do. The other thing I banned in London was brown shoes with a dark suit.
Okay.
It just, in my view, it didn't go. I know these days it's very trendy and people love it. Again, it was not how I thought the business should be run. And I think you have to have standards. Now, whether they're right or wrong, in my view, they were right, but I can absolutely imagine people thinking they were wrong. You have to have standards. And if you go soft on those standards, everyone thinks he's not serious.
Yeah.
And so, I went to a meeting every day of my life at 8 o'clock in the morning at an office or other. If people were late, I'd lock the door.
Right.
And so they wouldn't be late again.
That's a British thing.
I know, it doesn't work here, does it? Everyone's late here, I gather. But it wouldn't work for me. I think being late is basically saying my time's more valuable than yours.
Exactly. That's why I get palpitations if
So
I'm
do I.
running late.
I sweat.
I get anxiety, yeah. So, and it's just the most disrespectful thing to the person that you're going to meet. Like you said, your time's more important.
And if you're valuing a house and you're late, basically the client thinks, who is this monkey? He's just it doesn't care about me. It's all about him or her.
Yeah.
So that, again, it's one of the things I've lived my life by. And I think you have to have things in your life that are just
discipline.
Discipline. Absolutely non-negotiable. And then the business sort of molds to that. If there's rubbish in the office, or the desks aren't clear, or there's stuff all over the windows, or there's a missing bit of paper in one of the slots in the windows, it would look ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I was all over that.
Okay.
Attention to detail.
Obsessed with the brand and appearances.
Yeah.
Okay, so you gave some good advice for business leaders kind of navigating the ups and the highs and lows of a market. But how do agents change their technique, or what do they do when the market starts shifting? Because London, Europe, London and the UK, it's all about stock, valuations.
Always.
You've actually got valuers, people that they don't sell property, they just go and do the valuation and win the listing. Whereas here, I think of course, stock is still king here, but the obsession is, I need a buyer, I need a buyer, I need the tenant, I need the tenant.
Well, I've never really understood this, because people not having valuers. I mean, again, if you are after a bit of property that is going to make you, I don't know, tens of thousands of pounds, why are you sending anybody but your very, very best to take on the instruction? Yeah. Who's going to close it? Why are you sending someone who just picked up the phone and got a bit of luck and, can you come and value my house? Yeah. Okay, then I'll come. It's like putting Harry Kane in defence. You just wouldn't do it. Yeah. You send Harry Kane every time.
And Harry Kane that can negotiate fees, because, here the buyer pays 2% commission. Okay. And I think fees is going to be a big one of your favourite topics, because here the sellers, we got them used to not paying commission.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So you can find an agent to sell with and, not have to pay. But the good agents here are making 2% from the buyer and 2% from the seller. So they're double ending it, as you say.
That would be illegal in the UK.
Right. Since when?
Since forever.
Okay.
Because you can't.
Must have forgotten that.
You can't
fees. You can't charge buyers now. Yeah. Or
you've got to be on one side or the other. You're either acting for the buyer or acting for the seller. If you're charging both a fee, who are you acting for?
Yourself.
Would be.
You'll
probably cut that bit, I guess.
I'll keep it in.
Well, you have to. I mean, that's all part of integrity, isn't it? Integrity is one of the most important things you've got. Yeah. Rather crudely, I would say, integrity is like your virginity. Once you've lost it, you're not getting it back.
Yeah.
You just don't. People know you're a bit wrong.
So in the UK, then everyone chooses to work for the seller, because it's the seller who pays the commission. And we don't have, in the US, they have that whole, buyer's agent.
But you have a buyer's agent, exactly. Someone independent acting for the buyer, trying to get the buyer the most amount of money, or the best price. Yeah. And the seller's agent's obviously so that I get.
Okay. If you were to be granted Rollings Island.
Yeah.
Okay, with all this real estate.
Sounds quite nice.
And they have there's no precedent. There's no. They don't know what other countries are doing. What is the best real estate model? How should it be? Who should be paying? Should it be equal? Should there be a buyers and sellers? What would be the ideal?
Well, yeah,
way?
I mean, I do think the American market is brilliant. I mean, it's hugely expensive. You know, they charge 6%, 5 or 6%. But I do think they probably get value for money as a buyer and a seller.
Yeah.
If you think if as a buyer you think you're a brilliant negotiator, then fine. Don't employ a buyer's agent. Just go for the selling agent. But I think most people aren't brilliant negotiators. You know, I mean, I've been in my selling days, which are long gone. I haven't sold a house for a long time, but you know, I got very close to my buyers, and they really trusted me, as they should, because you can't make someone buy something they don't want, in my view. But they say to me, look, they're asking 500. Will you offer them 475? But I'll go to 500. You know, I mean, it's just, it's a bit crazy, because obviously as a seller's agent, you're going to say, well, they've offered 475, but they'll go to 500. But you know, that's the strange thing about the business, that you get to know the buyers much better than the sellers. But you act for the sellers or the landlords.
What about Rollings Island?
Well, there we go. I think it's probably a mixture. I do think fees in the UK are ridiculously low, pathetically low.
Yeah.
And
it's a race to the bottom.
And it's a real race to the bottom. I mean, obviously the purple bricks of this and type still don't make money, and I think will struggle to make money in a meaningful way ever. Yeah. But they have completely screwed the market. In the rest of the UK, not so much in London. They don't get much in London. But there are agents who basically are a bit wet and not brave enough, and frankly they're not proud of what they do, that have just followed the market down. Right. I mean, to give Foxtons our due, we are still 2.25% across London. Yeah. I get 2.25% in KNC, Kensington, Chelsea, but to charge it in Croydon and Vauxhall is quite tough. But
people would pay it.
They do pay it because they know what they're going to get, which is someone. I can't say this anymore, but we always used to say it. We go to war for our clients. Now, it's too aggressive these days, but it's what we mean. We absolutely find the one person in the market that is going to pay the most amount of money. We do that by an absolute load of marketing, a load of spending money on marketing, and really finding the best people to make the most calls and find that buyer or that tenant.
Because people, they knew that you had that reputation of being like sharks to some degree. And they probably judged all the cars going around, and they walk past the office and they're like, oh God, they're still in there 9 o'clock. They had this perception of you that you're hard workers, you're definitely going for it. Yeah. But it was always a case of like, we'll reluctantly give it to Foxes because we know they're going to deliver. And you always did deliver. And you'd get higher prices. And I'd have landlords or sellers telling me, Foxtons got me this. And I'm like, I'm not going to believe it until I see the contract. And then it's like, can you take the keys back to them? I'm like, no, I will not take the keys back to them.
Let them come and pick
But I took great pleasure in going to collect keys. You should definitely have come to Foxtons. But yeah. So, all right, what about the self-employed agency model? Because I see that's taking shape in the UK. I think if I were to ever go back into, God forbid, but if I ever needed to become an agent again, I would work for one of those self-employed because I don't really need that support network as
and you've got
much.
the experience.
And I've got the experience. But for someone who's kind of early day, what do you think?
I think early days is a no-no, personally, I think. I think you've got to learn your trade and understand the market and actually get to be known. As you alluded to earlier, the whole focus of the market in the UK is stock. Yeah. If you've got the stock, you're the king or queen. If you haven't got the stock, you can be the best salesperson in the world, but you're screwed because there's nothing to sell. So in the UK, the brand generates the stock and the buyer and the tenant. And you just put them together. Right. So it's not that much of of course it's a skilled job, but you're not generating the instructions, which is the key. Yeah. I went to Australia, as I said, about 20 odd years ago, and I came back to the UK full of the joys of I'm going to change this market. I'm going to use the Australian system, which is much like the system you have here. The brokers get, or the agents get, between 50 and 70%. I could make it work for the agents. I couldn't make it work for the principal. So, i.e., the business owner, having spent the money on the offices, the setup, the tech, wasn't making enough money.
Did you try some agents out on the 50? Okay.
No, because the minute you do that, you ruin the culture.
Right.
And everyone says, well, I want to be on that. And most aren't capable. The vast majority aren't capable. So in answer to your initial question, is the self-employed model, I think it's very effective. And there are a few agents that have launched it under a brand. I won't tell you which ones.
I think I can guess. I'll tell you off camera.
Yeah, off camera. But I mean, it would never happen at Foxtons because we are the brand, and it's very much a growing company. I've been back on the board at Foxtons now for 2.5 years, and I re-entered the business when it was on its
knees.
Okay. I'm going to say knees. There would be a ruder one for that, but anyway, knees. Because it had been badly run, really badly run. There was no agents on the board. There was no one that knew what they were doing, and now. Someone's in, the guy called Guy Gittins, who I employed years and years and years ago, and has come back as chief exec. And again, he's brought in those things we just talked about. There was 40 minis on the streets 2.5 years ago. There's now 350.
Wow.
So we've got the mojo back, if you like, to a business that has domination of London, or could have, and is now back on the way up. So.
And like, you've got all these shows nowadays, Selling Sunset, $1 Million Listing, and now Buying London. Do you think, a lot of these agency brands are very much, and I spoke to Christopher Watkin about that. We've both been interviewed by him, and he was telling me that agency brands in London, they don't call them marketing departments, they call them brand police. The brand police. You cannot do this. It's all about the agency
Control.
brand. But I see the emergence now of the personal brand, and not just in real estate, in every category. People are connecting more with people rather than brands. Do you see a decline in brand recognition or brand loyalty?
I don't see a decline in recognition, maybe loyalty. I mean, way before the influencers you're talking about is the buying agent. And buying agents have been very prevalent in London for many, many, many years. And sometimes they're a complete waste of space. They're failed estate agents who just sort of do the odd deal. But many of them now are really rather good. And they have really specific clients who absolutely trust. They're buying agents, so rather like the American model, actually. So they charge them 2% and they act for them. So there we go. That is exactly like the American model. And so you get a really professional buyer via his or her agent and a really professional estate agent. But my point is, the buying agents now, having been in the market for, 10, 15, 20 years, they are getting the stock back. Because the buyer then is now the seller and comes back to the buying agent saying, will you help me sell it?
Right. So the buying agent, 360 or 180.
And then therefore that bit of stock, having been bought from one of the big agents, doesn't go back to the big agent. It goes back to the buying agent. So that is a danger, I think, at the upper end of the market. But the influencers, they have an influence, but they are, in my view, minute. They will be a very small proportion of the market. They'll take a bit, but I would guess in the general mass market, and I'm talking between 500,000 and 6 or 7 or 8 million, of which the vast majority of properties in London are. Obviously, you get the super prime stuff. That market won't change. I don't think. Who knows? I don't think.
And probably, I've heard this a couple of times, the top agents are probably not on social media.
No.
And similarly, most of the agency leaders, and we had this conversation before, didn't go to university.
No.
So we're in the dropout section. Okay. Or no, I didn't even.
No, dropout.
I dropped out.
Harsh.
I dropped out. You didn't even go, did you? Yeah.
No, probably because I couldn't, frankly.
Fish market.
Didn't get the best grades.
Well, you still got the benefits of being an Eton. An Etonite or whatever they're called. You got
a little bit. I mean, I was born and brought up on a farm, and farmers are notoriously tight. And my father, he gave me a brilliant. My mother and father obviously gave me a brilliant upbringing, but zero money, none. Anything I had to do, I had to work for, and so I did. And when you buy your own car for 150 quid. and then it's worth something.
Right. Let's talk about, I know you're not a negative person, but let's talk about some bad habits that real estate agents have.
Yeah.
Apart from the beards,
That's not a habit. That's just a fashion statement.
True. What are some bad habits that you're obsessed about to this day? Or maybe they no longer apply?
Well, when we employ people in both Foxtons and Marsh Parsons, I nicknamed them the shit flat specialist. And by that, I mean they had no opinions. So they went out and sold or let all the stock that the other agents had said, oh, that'll never sell.
So that's
too
the
expensive.
entry. That's the entry position, shit flat specialist.
But what it means is they got no opinions. And an opinion is the death of a salesperson.
Right.
It means that they don't think anybody is going to like it, and so they don't push it, they don't sell it. So that is a really bad habit that most people get, and they find themselves. They sort of shoot for the stars to begin with, and think, this is a piece of cake, I can do this, and then their figures do this because they've got an opinion,
right?
And they've stopped working hard and they've stopped making the calls because it's so easy, and then they either crash and burn, or they catch themselves and go back up. So that's an extremely bad habit that the vast majority of people get, and you have to, as a manager, you have to pull them out of and explain why they're there.
Well, actually, it probably happens unseen quite a lot, and I'll tell you where opinions or uninvited opinions crop up. It's on the viewing.
Yep.
When your manager's not around or no one's there to see you, that is where I find agents give all their opinions, and I'm like, you're not moving in. I don't care about your opinion.
Right. Well said.
So what would you say? And I've seen this on a lot of these reality TV shows where they go around saying, oh yeah, I really like this, or the bathroom, let me test the bathroom. And it's like, why?
No, it's really annoying. I mean, agents there to sell their clients' property, and so they have to be universally positive about it. But when the person says, I really hate this, you've got to agree with them.
Yes.
You have to say, yeah, and you'd say that, and I've got the best, because you hate this and this and this. Come with me now. Go and pick up some more keys. I've got this one over here, which I think you'll like. So again, that's another thing. Be insistent. Many agents sort of, they show something and they don't like it, and then they don't try and persuade them to buy something else. We're not taxi drivers, we're not tour guides. We have to listen to people and really think about what they want. We have to be salespeople. So if they're looking at 300, show them something at 375. We used to say, you're selling requirement to requirement, not price to price.
Yeah. Can we just repeat that, please? Because that is something that I think the entire London industry learned from Foxtons. It's like, hold on, I've just registered an applicant. Their budget, they told me their budget was 300,000. I'm showing them all the properties that I have on the market for 280 to 305.
It's outrageous.
But meanwhile, Foxtons are out showing them 375.
Well, you have to show them one at. One a bit above and one a lot above.
Okay, because obviously the one a lot above is going to be the best they've seen.
It's going to be the best, and they're either going to say, oh my God, I love this, I'll sell something and buy it, or they're going to say, no, I'm really sorry, I do love it, but I can't do this. So you've learned something. You've learned not to push them that hard. Registering a buyer. Most people are shockingly bad at registering a buyer.
And I think that's where the majority of the selling is done.
Yeah.
What's your golden nuggets on registration?
Well, there's 4 killer questions. There is, God, I've got to remember them now.
So just to be clear, registering an applicant, we call it, here you call it when you're qualifying a lead. So that's when the call comes through, or, they might even WhatsApp. That's happening a lot these days, WhatsApp. But you've got to get on the phone. And you've got to get on the phone and you've got to ask these 4 questions. Do you remember?
Well, the first thing you've got to get on the phone, again, it might not be relevant these days because people love to do WhatsApps and emails. If you're an agent, a good agent, you want to speak. Because that's how you sell. You want to speak to them. So do your damnedest to speak to them. If you can't, then choose another way. But you have
to send a voice note.
Send a voice note, fine. But, do your damnedest to say, I'd really love to talk to you about this. Can we speak?
Right.
Don't say, I'm hesitating, I hate to bother you, but, what's a good time? I'm available at 5, 6 or 7:30, whatever it is. The 4 killer questions, God. Right. What's the best you've seen?
Love that one.
Yeah. So they'll describe to you the best they've seen. They'll describe to you their perfect flat or house or whatever it is. So, yeah. Why didn't you buy it? Yeah.
It tells you their limitations.
And they say, I didn't buy it because the third bedroom was a single.
Yeah.
Would you have bought it if it was a double? Yes. Bam. And the first thing you need to ask is, how long have you been looking?
Yeah.
So, how long are you looking? I started today.
What
Okay,
would you
well,
do with that person?
Well, you've got to be nice to them, but they're not your buyer yet because they haven't explored the market. Now, some people might spend 6 months exploring the market. Other people, if it's a month or 6 weeks, bingo. Yeah. If it's 2.5 years, don't waste your time. But you need to find that out. And the final thing is, what won't you compromise on?
Right.
So again, you're limiting the breadth of that search from a very wide breadth to really quite defined. Yeah? And then most importantly, you have to re-qualify your applicants.
So what do you mean? Repeat everything that they've just said?
Yeah,
to you?
a month later.
Okay.
Because
Things
everyone
change.
comes into the market thinking, I'm going to buy this and this and this, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
And then they see stuff. And they say, oh, actually, well, this area is this, or perhaps I don't need a third bedroom, or perhaps I don't need a garden. There's a sort of a famous story. It's a sort of urban myth in the UK where requalifying. Oh, I'm sorry, I bought something. Okay, what'd you buy? I bought a 2-bedroom flat with no garden. But you said you needed a garden. Yeah, my dog died. So things had changed. Yeah. And so unless you requalify and you just look at the, in my day, card, but now on a computer or whatever it is,
CRM,
and say, no, we've got nothing for them. Yeah, I'll call someone else.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do call outs here. Do they call out?
Some agencies do. But again, it's very much like we used to learn from the call out sessions and we'd hear our colleagues, but now you've got all of this working from home
Please.
the WFH lot. And then, okay, if you do come into the office, you'll have a booth. You know those booths in the
I don't
co-working.
actually, but yeah.
Like it's just a private booth. You go in and you make that phone call in with complete privacy. No one can hear you.
Well, you need to do that sometimes when you're putting an offer up or something. But as a boss, you should encourage your people to feed off each other's energy. The biggest thing we did at Foxtons that changed our whole dynamic was time management. So we enforced periods in the day when salespeople were all doing the same thing, which is making outgoing phone calls to buyers, and then we forced them, encouraged them to do a minimum amount of appointments a day. So we sort of enforced their success. Because most salespeople won't do what you ask them to do. They'll faff around and make a cup of coffee and just waste time. And so at periods in the day, they all did the same thing. So this working from home ridiculousness that has crept in since COVID, and bosses, I would say, haven't been brave enough to stop it, is going to kill sales businesses unless the bosses do stop it. I read today, I don't know if any of you are a football fan, but Jim Ratcliffe has just bought 25% of Manchester United.
Right.
He's a billionaire, a brilliant, amazing businessman. He has said to all the staff, and obviously it's not the players, but all the staff, you are all in the office by June the 1st, and if you're not, you're redundant.
Wow.
So it's very ballsy and very aggressive, but he knows it's right. And I guess most of these people watching know it's right as well.
Yeah, and you did put the kind of caveat on it, sales positions.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any industries where you think work from home
many.
is okay? Okay.
Many.
All right.
But
So it's not that you're just anti-WFH.
No, I'm not. But I'm anti it in general because I know, and I speak to my kids' mates, and they know as well. They hardly ever work on a Friday. They're working from home and they're taking the dog for a walk. And I'll bet you, looking at the camera, anybody who says they don't is lying.
Yeah. I tell you one thing. I will tell you something because WFH.
It's your business.
Because it's my business. But
That's different.
So whilst I may start later and I dilly-dally and I get distractions, I'm working sometimes till 3 a.m., which I wouldn't do in the office.
No, it's your business. That's entirely different.
It's different, I guess. But if I was working for someone else...
People don't care about your business as much as you do, obviously. So all these business owners that think, oh, I've got very loyal staff. Oh, yeah, they're very loyal. you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a cynic, I'm afraid, after all these years, and people will,
take the piss.
Will take the piss.
Yeah.
They just will. And if you let them, they absolutely will.
Okay. Right. So we've got some bad habits that you should drop. What are some best practices that you love seeing across your agencies?
Well, I mean, there's no killer one here, but it's all the things that go together to make a great estate agent. Yeah. So it's nice, but not nice all the time. You have to give bad news, but generally you are a positive, upbeat, charming person. A sale is a transfer of enthusiasm. So if you are grumpy and down, even if you feel like it, you're not going to sell. You're just not. I liken it to being on stage. In the wings, you can be as grumpy as you like. When you're on stage, you are all things to all people.
Put on a show.
You're putting on a show like we are here, absolutely, like you said to begin with. So that's key. Never be late, ever.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are massively on the back foot, and they don't think you care about them.
Yeah.
If you are going to be late, and shit happens, you're late because of traffic, make a call.
Yeah.
Take seconds. I'm really sorry. I'm running 10 minutes late. I'm so sorry. The traffic on blah, blah, blah is terrible. I'll be with you as soon as I can. Forgiven. Of course you are. Look the part. Dress to impress. If you are selling the sort of properties that they're selling in Dubai and in central London, if you turn up looking like a scruff, again, it tells people you don't care. Care is almost the biggest word, in my view, about this industry. If you care, you've got chances. If you don't care, you're just one of many who are just sort of in a period of their life when they're working in real estate.
Okay. And how can you, as an agent, in the UK, it's very easy because you've got different milestones, or you can be promoted several times. But in other places, or if you're in the self-employed model, it's just you.
Yep.
So how can you improve your growth rate as an agent, get better and better and better, whether it's knowledge, whether it's performance, whether it's size of your network? What would your advice be?
It depends on what you mean about improve your knowledge. Improving your knowledge about the business comes from people.
Techniques.
Well, working from your second bedroom ain't going to help that. It's just not. So
Gotta be out
be
there.
be with people. Be with great people. Pay to sit next to great people so you hear them on the telephone.
Yeah.
Again, it's a really simple business. If you get in front of 5 people a day, you'll be successful. And you've got to do your damnedest to get in front of 5 people a day. Going back to your point about working from home, don't finish work at 6. Well, do finish work at 6, go for a drink, and then come back and do a couple more calls to people that will be at home by now.
Yeah.
If it's your business, and I was used to liken our we call them negotiators, as running their business within my business.
Yeah.
Because I didn't pay them very much. They could earn a lot, but only if they did the right things well.
Brilliant. Okay. And technology. I mean, we go back to hot boxes and the arc. At last episode, we were talking about the internet coming in, and you had only just when the internet came in, or computers before laptops, only the manager in the office would have the. So what do you see and now you're investing in prop tech and technology and stuff. So what's your kind of forecast for the future of technology and AI for real estate? Well,
it's interesting. I actually responded to a message on LinkedIn today exactly about this, and this was vaguely my response. John Hunt and I went to something called the Inman Conference in San Francisco in 2000, which is very tech-driven. This is 24 years ago. And it was just as the internet was coming to the fore. And we were terrified. We thought the internet was going to disintermediate us and really, we were going to cease to exist.
Do you remember that, the whole millennium bug or millennium something or other?
Yeah, it was the millennium bug. We were going to, all computers were going to blow up.
Yeah.
All the data would be lost. But anyway, we didn't really care because nothing happened. We were going to cease to exist. And we quickly found out that actually quite the opposite. It was a massively useful tool which turbocharged our business and enabled the people that copped on and started using it. And there were many, many, many that didn't. They just wanted to do their own thing. And I would say it's the same with AI. AI is going to have some terrible things and it's going to have some brilliant things. And I think, the bit of business, the bit of tech that I am I'm thinking of investing in is something called Fixer AI, which basically looks at your email box and answers emails for you.
Okay.
It searches all your responses ever and writes it as it were you.
Wow.
And I certainly can't get round to all my emails. And many, when I used to work, went unanswered, which was to me an embarrassment. But this will just answer them nicely. On a push them off a bit, but it seems like it's come from you.
Would you trust it though? I need to see everything before it
doesn't.
send.
Well, it doesn't send them.
Okay.
It puts them in a
that's
separate file, and you can
nice.
check
Okay.
them. So yeah, send. Or I mean, at Foxtons we get in the summer we get 15,000 emails a week from tenants. A week, 60,000 a month. Can we get around? No. So, probably 59,000 of those people will think, Foxtons never got back to me.
Yeah.
If we could do something with that and just say, I'm really sorry, it's gone. Thank you for contacting Foxtons. Good luck.
Yeah.
Just something a bit nice.
Interesting. Or for
which
property
I like.
management tenants
Property
as
management's
well.
brilliant. So I think it's got lots of uses. So that's quite exciting. I think, as I said, AI will have lots of really, really, really good things, but we mustn't hide behind computers. That many businesses just, the computer will do it. Well, it has to be that mix of computer and human being.
Yeah. That's not going away anytime soon.
No, it's not.
Okay. And the best piece of advice you've ever received in your career?
Oh, blimey.
And then we'll close. We'll close the show on the best piece of advice.
What's the best piece of advice? I don't know, be brave, I suppose.
Be brave.
Yeah, I've always been quite brave. And sometimes I've really forced myself to be brave.
Fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Peter,
Good.
I've always
Thank you.
looked up to you,
Oh, stop.
having 20 years plus on my career,
At
and
least.
also building such fantastic brands who I hated co-listing with, but, you all did, you were disruptors.
We were.
Both in brand, sales, and everything you did. So you are amazing. You are an icon, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.